Biological, psychosocial, spiritual, and cultural principles of aging. Human aging is influenced by biological, psychological, social, functional, cultural, and spiritual factors. Aging is a continuum of events that begin at conception and continue until death. There's different theories out there that attempt to explain the phenomenon of aging as it occurs over the lifespan, and different theories of aging have been debated since the time of ancient Greeks. These theories function to help make sense of a particular phenomenon. They provide order, give perspective, and provide a springboard for this discussion and research. Some theories that are presented in this particular lecture are for historical value only. They've been abandoned for a lack of evidence, but other theories are the result of ongoing research and advances in biotechnology. Human aging is an individual process, again, beginning at conception. Chronological aging is defined by years. But biological aging is predicted by a person's physical condition. Psychological aging, however, is expressed through a person's ability, their control of memory, their learning capacity, their skills, emotions, and judgment. Aging is affected by multiple unique factors, some of which are genetic, social, psychological, and economical. The aging process will vary within different body systems of the same person. Underneath biological, this type of theory will explain that throughout the lifespan of an organism, the cells within the organism die, and when enough cellular death has occurred, then the organism too will die. The cause that leads to decreasing function of the organism, or the human being, will gradually occur, or will have gradually occurring age-related changes that are progressive over time. Natural changes that affect all members of a species because of aging are also included. Sociological. These theories explain and predict changes in roles and relationships during middle and later life, placing an emphasis on adjustment to those changes. And psychological. These theories will explain that the aging process is just one of many developmental processes that must be experienced between the birth and death of an individual. In these theories, life is described as a dynamic process. Triggers of aging are influenced by genetics, injury, or abuse to the body. Aging changes are intrinsic, where they come from within the person, or extrinsic, where they come from environmental factors such as smoke or pollutants. Biological theories are divided into two groups. We have the error or stochastic theories. These explain that aging is a result of an accumulation of errors in the synthesis of cellular DNA and RNA. So when each cell containing errors multiplies, the more errors will occur until that cell is no longer able to function. An example of this would be gray hair. This is thought to be due to cellular error. Then we also have programmed aging, or the non-stochastic theories. These theories explain that all changes that occur with aging are predetermined or programmed at the cellular level. This means that each cell has a life expectancy. In other words, it's been predetermined as to how many times it can replicate. When that limit is reached, the cell will then die. As more and more cells cease to replicate, then the signs of aging are seen. So we have biological theories of wear and tear. This theory states that humans are like machines. Cells will wear out over time because of continued use. Organs and tissues have a pre-programmed amount of available energy, and they wear out when the allotted energy is then expended. This will lead to the death of the entire organism. The free radical theory states that free radicals are products of metabolism within the body. Free radical production can increase due to environmental pollutants like pesticides and radiation. Normally, they are neutralized by enzymatic activity or natural oxidants. When these byproducts accumulate, they damage the cell membrane, which decreases its efficiency. Vitamin C and E can inhibit the functioning of these free radicals. And then we have the cross-linkage theory. And according to this theory, some proteins in the body become cross-linked or enmeshed, and they may impede metabolic processes by obstructing the passage of nutrients and waste between the cells. Waste products will then accumulate in the cell, and the end result is tissues do not function at their optimum efficiency. Non-stochastic theories are viewed as certain, predetermined, and timed. Two theories include the programmed theory and the immunity theory. The programmed theory states that normal cells will divide a limited number of times, therefore life expectancy is pre-programmed. The neuroendocrine immunological theory states that changes occur in the immune system, specifically in the T lymphocytes, as the result of aging, and then they become more diversified. These changes leave the individual more vulnerable to diseases. The age-related changes will occur because the body battles itself and healthy cells are mistaken for foreign substances and then attacked. There is a crossover between the two theories. Moving on to sociologic theories, these function on changing roles and relationships in the older person's life. They relate to various social adaptations in the lives of older adults. An easy way to view the theories is to understand the societal values of aging persons when the theories were developed. For example, in the 1960s, sociologists focused on the losses of old age. In the 1970s, society had a broader view of aging, and the theories were more global at that point. The 1980s and 1990s brought another change in focus and looked at relationships, especially between older adults and the physical, political, environmental, and socioeconomic situation in which they lived. There's several different sociologic theories, and we start off talking about the disengagement theory. Aging is inevitable. This theory states that aging results in a decrease in interaction between society and the older adult. Withdrawal is mutual between society and the older adult, and it's also natural. The activity theory is one of the earliest theories, coming about in 1963. It's based on the belief that individuals need to remain as active as possible and is possible in a stable society. Activity is necessary to maintain this life satisfaction and a positive self-concept. The continuity theory states that individuals respond to aging in the same way they have responded to previous life events. The same habits, commitments, preferences, and other personality characteristics developed during adulthood are maintained in older adulthood. In other words, we are as we were, only more so. The age stratification theory is a newer approach to understanding role, reactions, and adaptations of older adults. It believes in age categories of older adults as young, middle-aged, and old. It understands elders as members of cohorts along with others who have shared similar historical periods in their lives. It examines social and cultural expressions of age. The social exchange theory is based on the cost-benefit of social participation. It explains that withdrawal or social isolation is because of an imbalance between the exchanges of younger people with the older persons, and this balance then determines one's personal satisfaction and social support. With the modernization theory, it states the value in older adults is lost when their skills are no longer considered useful. And this comes about because of technology, urbanization, and mass education. And then finally, symbolic interaction. The focus is on the interaction between the older adult and his or her environment. When confronted with change, the older person tries to master the new situation while extracting a positive self-concept from the environment. Basic assumption of the psychological theories of aging is that development does not end when a person reaches adulthood. So as a person passes from middle to later life, roles, abilities, perspectives, and belief systems enter a stage of transition. Psychological theories of aging are much broader in scope, and they are influenced by both biology and sociology. Throughout aging, adaptive changes help the older adult cope with or accept biological changes. This includes not only behavioral changes, but also developmental aspects related to older adults. There's also several psychological theories available, and first of all, we look at Maslow's. Each individual has an instinctive hierarchy of needs that motivates all human behavior. These needs have different orders of priority, but once one priority is met, the individual is then motivated to look to the needs at the next higher step. Jung's theory states that personality is either extroverted and oriented toward the external world, or introverted and oriented toward the internal subjective world of the individual. Midlife will present questions of one's own dreams, values, and priorities. The last half of life is a time of inner discovery. Aging occurs as a result of the movement from extroversion to introversion. Erikson's theory, he described 8 stages that human beings progress from infancy to old age in. And the last stage of life is to look back and reflect. The major focus is with the individual's ego structure or sense of self. In each of his stages, a crisis will occur that affects the development of the person's ego, and how the person masters or does not master a particular stage will influence his future development. Haviger's theory states that certain tasks should be completed in middle age and in later maturity. And finally, gerotranscendence is a recent theory that suggests aging involves a transition. Human aging brings a shift from the material world to the cosmic world with increased satisfaction and is associated with wisdom and spiritual growth. As people age, they are less concerned with material possessions, meaningless relationships, and self-interests, or in other words, selfish interests. It's thought to be a gradual and ongoing transition that is generated by the process of living, but can sometimes be hastened by serious personal disruptions or life events. Under Maslow's, A fully developed, self-actualized person will exhibit the characteristics that are listed here in this slide. Self-actualization is probably only attained by about 1% of the population. Even so, a person developing in a healthy way is always moving toward more self-fulfilling levels. With Jung's theory of individualism, at this stage of life, the older person is going to search for answers to life's riddles and try to find the true self. To age successfully, the older person will accept past accomplishments and failures. The older person may spend a lot of time in contemplation and introspection. The person is capable of transforming into a more spiritual being. And these questions are asked. Who am I in the world? And what is my meaning and my purpose of life? Erikson's theory states that the challenge of old age is to accept and find meaning in the life the person has lived. This gives the individual ego integrity that aids in adjusting and coping with the reality of aging and mortality. They may have some feelings of anger, bitterness, depression, and inadequacy that can result in despair. In 1968, Robert Peck redefined or refined Erikson's description of old age and detailed 3 specific challenges that face older adults. Number 1 is ego differentiation versus the work role preoccupation. This helps develop satisfactions from oneself as a person rather than through their work roles. Number 2 is body transcendence versus body preoccupation, which states the body is cared for but no longer consumes the interest or attention of the individual. And number 3 is ego transcendence versus ego preoccupation, which states the self is less central and feels a part of the mass of humanity by sharing their struggles and their destiny. In 1982, Robert Butler and Myrna Lewis outlined 3 additional developmental tasks of later life. Number 1 is adjusting to one's infirmities. Number 2, developing a sense of satisfaction with the life that has been lived. And number 3 is preparing for death. Haverger's theory states the individual must be able to adjust to the decrease in their physical strength and health, to their retirement, reduced income, and the death of a spouse as part of the normal aging process. One must also be able to have an affiliation with others of the same age, be in satisfactory living conditions, and adopt or adapt to new social roles in a flexible manner as they get older. All of these tasks should be completed according to Havergerst. Gerotranscendence is associated with wisdom and spiritual growth, very similar to Erikson's integrity concept and Maslow's self-actualization. Newman, Parse, and Watson were nursing theorists who addressed the concept of spirituality. The spiritual aspect of people's life transcends the physical and psychosocial to reach the deepest individual capacity for love, hope, and meaning. We've discussed before that religious needs are very important for many older people, being much broader and more personal than adherence to any religious persuasion would comprise. Nurses should be knowledgeable and respectful of the rites and rituals of varying religions, cultural beliefs, and values. Religious and spiritual resources such as pastoral visits should be available in all settings where older people reside. Do not impose your own beliefs on another person. Make certain that you respect a client's privacy on matters of spirituality. Don't forget how much spirituality can affect the well-being of our older adult clients. Spiritual well-being is the ability to experience and integrate meaning and purpose in life. Studies have shown that not all ethnicities have the same access to health care, in addition to the following group divisions: depending on their geographical location, their age, their gender, their race, and their sexual orientation. And we also have to realize that many older adults are now immigrating to the United States. We have to be very cognizant of cultural differences and very respectful of cultural differences. We don't treat everyone the same. The goal of Healthy People 2020 is to achieve health equity, eliminate disparities, and improve the health of all groups by increasing cultural competence, increasing cultural awareness, and obtaining cultural knowledge. Nurses must be able to skillfully assess and intervene despite the client's cultural background. Effective nurses are going to develop cultural competence through new cultural knowledge about ethnicity, culture, language, and health belief systems, and then develop the skills needed to optimize intercultural communication. Working with interpreters may ensure an appropriate assessment is obtained and care is provided. Ascertain understanding even when you are using an interpreter. And the interpreter, once again, should not be a family member if at all possible. It should be an unbiased person providing the interpretation. Again, just remember that we do not treat all of our clients the same. Cultural differences require us to adjust the care that we provide our clients. Just because someone is not biologically related does not mean that there are not emotional bonds. Fictive kin are family members not due to biological bonds, but are family members because of emotional bonds. A lack of awareness of the elder's health beliefs has the potential to produce conflict in the nursing situation. So again, as you are doing your assessment and as you are providing care, make sure that you are aware of the elder's health beliefs and cultural differences.